My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is, what's today's date?
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay, the 5th of May, 2025. And we're here at Riviera Beach Preparatory Achievement Academy. I've got several of my students with me. Mr. Belizaire, correct? Javante, and also Amari. Okay, one of the others. Good. Okay, and sir, what is your name?
My name is John McCammon.
Okay, Mr. McCammon. And when's your birthday?
March 3rd, 1966.
Okay, and what city do you live in at present?
Royal Palm Beach, Florida.
All right. What branch of the service were you in?
United States Army.
Okay, and what year did you go into the Army?
1987.
Why did you choose that branch versus the other three?
I played golf with a recruiter while I ran a small construction company out in Arizona, and when we lost contracts, I went to the guy I played golf with. He thought I was going in there to set up a tee time. I said, no, tell me what the Army has to offer.
Okay, all right. And what were you doing prior to going into the service?
I was working for a small construction company, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning in the heat of Phoenix, Arizona, and we'd be done by noon. And I was a guy, the laborer, pushing the wheelbarrow full of hot or cement. Had to be something more to life at 18 than.
Is that where you grew up in Arizona?
No, born and raised in Indiana, small town in southwest Indiana.
Okay. So how old were you when you went into service?
I just right before my 20th birthday.
20?
20th.
20. Right, gotcha. Okay. So where'd you go to basic training?
Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Okay, and how long was your basic training?
Basic training was 10 weeks. I did basic and advanced individual training simultaneously at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So during the daytime it was basic combat training, and then when I got in the AIT phase, it was all in it was the night classes where you reported for class at 11, and you were done by 6. Physical training, breakfast, go to bed, sleep for the day.
Okay. Okay, and how long was basic?
Basic was 10 weeks. AIT was additional 19.
All right, where'd you do your AIT? Same place?
Same place, Fort Sill.
And what was your MOS?
31 Victor, unit level communications maintainer.
Uh-huh. And what did that involve? What did that entail?
A lot of electronics.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so that was 1987.
87. Yep.
So you're right on the tip, so to speak, of the computer age.
Yep.
Right? So what kind of equipment were you using for communication?
Sadly say we're using Vietnam era PRC 177s.
What the heck is that?
Vietnam era radio.
Oh, radio. What about computers?
Not yet. We didn't transition to computers till early 90s.
That's what I was after. Okay,
Yep.
got you. So after I don't know, either basic. By the way, during basic and during AIT, were there any casualties? Anybody get hurt?
No.
Nobody got hurt?
No.
Did you suffer any injuries?
Not in basic and IT, no.
Okay, great. All right. So where was your first duty station after training?
I left basic and AIT, reported to Fort Benning in April of '88.
Fort Benning,
Georgia, to go to airborne school,
Uh-huh.
and then that's where I fractured my ankle at jump school.
You said airborne jump school, huh? Wow.
And then from there, medical hold, supposed to if I completed the airborne school, which I didn't because I was injured, supposed to go to Panama to a airborne unit there, and then since that was not part of the equation with my busted ankle, I ended up going to Bamberg, Germany for the next 4 years.
Wow. Okay. All right. You said Bamberg, right?
Yes, sir.
And where were you stationed in Bamberg?
Warner Barracks.
Warner Barracks?
Warner Barracks. First Armored Division, 3rd Brigade.
So you said you were there for 4 years?
I was there from 88 to right after Desert Storm, 91. Fall of 91.
So you were there through Desert Storm?
Yes, sir. Deployed from there.
You deployed to?
I was deployed to Saudi Arabia
Uh-huh.
for Operation Desert Shield, and then concurrently transitioned to Operation Desert Storm when we crossed the LD in January of 91.
When you crossed the what?
The line of departure.
Line of departure. What border was that at?
That was as soon as we went into Iraq and Kuwait.
Okay. And you were there for, how long were you on that deployment?
I was there late October of 1990, and we remobbed back or demobbed and returned to Germany in June of 91.
Okay.
So it's a little, just right at 6 months.
You said you entered the service in '87. What year did you separate?
I retired in 2015 after 27 years, 3 months, 2 days.
Congratulations. Okay. And what rank were you when you finally separated?
Sergeant first class.
Okay. So tell us about that deployment in the Middle East. What was it like? What were the people like? Are you a combat veteran?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And so you were in combat. Can you mind sharing some of those experiences with us?
Our combat was typically moved, shoot, move, communicate. I was a retrans operator where I would be 5 to 10 kilometers from the front line as a what we call retrans, like a relay, where
Uh-huh.
I'm just me and the nurse specialist with 3 or 4 radios, where the main body is to the rear. So you have recon, retrans, main body. So we were that link of communication as we progressed through southeastern Iraq into northwestern Kuwait.
Okay. Okay. Any casualties during your deployment?
There was a few.
Okay. How many people were in your unit or battalion? What were you in, a company or?
I was I was retrans, part of the signal section of 3rd Brigade, 1st Armored Division. So the brigade headquarters element probably consisted of about 65 soldiers. I was just one slice of that, but the brigade itself was approximately right around, with 2 infantry battalions, an armor battalion support, probably just around 2,500, because the division is made of about 10,000, so about
Wow.
2,500.
Jesus. Okay. So, how long was the deployment?
October to June, so figuring the math there, 3, 6, just right at 6 months.
8 months, 6 months. Okay. All right.
This is my honeymoon also, so
What now?
this is my honeymoon.
What does that mean?
Well, I got married on the 7th, Saddam invaded on the 8th, all leaves canceled, and that's my honeymoon.
That was it, huh? Gotcha. Okay. Up to this point, throughout basic training and your AIT and your deployment, up to this point, do you feel like you had all the supplies that you needed to do your job?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So at the end of that deployment, where did you go?
So after the storm, returned to Germany. We were in Germany for about 2 to 3 months, and then I PCS to Fort Bliss, Texas, where I went to 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, Heavy Company, and I was the combo sergeant for a tank company until I left the Army the first time in May of 1994. So
Okay.
about
You
3
said
years.
you were camo?
Commo, communications sergeant.
Oh, you were communications sergeant. What was your rank at that moment?
Corporal.
Okay. All right. So, how was that tour?
It's good. Training all the time. It was just a stateside duty assignment where we were training up to go to the National Training Center, or we were the opposing force preparing another unit for their time to go in the box to National Training Center.
Okay. You said you were training all the time?
9 months out of the year.
Really? Did you guys do a lot of maneuvers?
Well, that's what we're doing.
Training all the
Yep.
time?
Yep.
And what did that entail?
Spent a lot of time in the Tularosa Desert in New Mexico. In we're Armored Cavalry Regiment, so we're doing Armored Cavalry Regiment tactics and skills, whether it's at the individual or the collective level.
Okay. Were there any injuries during that?
Well, I'm sure there's people sprained ankles or whatnot, but I mean, it was more
No fatalities?
no fatalities. Not that I'm aware of, no.
So where was your next duty base?
Home. I got out in May of '94, went back to Indiana. I went into the Indiana Army National Guard while my wife pursued her dental hygiene degree. So we were there until 2000, where we moved to South Florida, and that's when I went back on active duty with the Florida Guard as a recruiter, and that's where I spent my time 2001 to 2015 up to my retirement.
Where in Florida were you living and stationed?
Palm Beach County.
Okay. So you said you separated. How long did you separate for?
My separation from service well, it's not really a separation. It's just I went from active duty to reserve time,
Right.
and then reserve time back to active duty.
While you were doing reserve duty,
Mhm.
did you have a civilian job?
Yes, I did.
What were you doing?
I was working for a tubing manufacturer that makes small copper tubing for automotive and the appliance parts.
And that was here in Palm Beach County?
No, that was in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
That was in Indiana.
So you were reserve in Indiana?
Correct.
Okay, so what was your reasoning for moving and coming back into the service?
Well, that's a good one. I was with the Indiana Army National Guard, been gone about two and a half months, and doing what we call an RTEP, training exercise in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And I left in April, come back in June. My wife was from South Florida, and I guess we had a little late hint of winter that came through Southwest Indiana. I was in Fort Polk, where it's nice and balmy. And I came back and I said, hi, honey, how are you? And she goes, I'm not staying in Indiana no more. It's too cold. I said, you take me with you if you want to come. So I put in for a transfer to come to Florida. Left my tubing job and then went back on active duty when I got here.
Okay, and I'm just curious, after you made the move, why did you go back on active duty and versus staying in the reserve?
Well, the goal was to get back on active duty at some point in time. After, the only reason we had a little piece of separation allowed my wife to finish up her dental hygiene degree.
Right.
And the goal was to go back on active duty that's still young enough to do it. So,
Gotcha.
Then one of the only positions they had was at the time was a recruiter. So I went out and became a top 5 recruiter in the state for 3 years in a running.
Where was that?
Right here in Palm Beach County.
Okay, all right. And how long did you do that?
2001 to 2004, I was actively involved in recruiter, and then they created a recruiting team, wanted to create a recruiting team in Broward. I was tasked to go down and do that for 2004 through 2006, and then in 2007, I took over we started what's called RSP, the Recruit to Statement Program, here in Palm Beach County for all new soldiers that are enlisted in the Guard. They report 1 week in a month under my supervision and my cadre, prepare them for basic. I did that for 3 years, and then my last job was the on-campus recruiter at Florida Atlantic University from 2010 up until retirement in 2015.
Gotcha. Okay. By the way, the entire time that you were on active duty, did you ever have any problems staying in touch with your family?
No.
Okay, good. And also in this last segment, you feel like you had all the supplies that you needed and everything you needed to get your job done.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good news. Awards and citations, medals.
Yes, sir.
What'd you get?
My highest award is Meritorious Service ×2.
Okay. Anything else you got?
ARCOM.
What is ARCOM?
Army Combination Medal.
Gotcha.
Have 6 of those.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, give me 2 of your most memorable experiences throughout your service career.
First time meeting a dining facility as a young private, and someone I was asking, now you guys, you young men are going to like this, you're going to appreciate this, because you'll just all eat your meal in front of me, knowing I ain't had a doggone thing to eat yet. But anyway, we'd been out on we marched out about 6 miles, because it's early in our trainings. We're not ready, physically prepared to go on a nice long 12-mile ruck, but we rucked out 6 miles. Had breakfast. They give you a little bag, lunch bag. You had a bologna sandwich, a hard-boiled egg, a bag of chips, and an apple. That was all that was in that bag. You go out there, you do all this training, sit down, you whoop everything up. I mean, you actually throw that bag away. The only thing that's in there is the apple core, the bag the chips are in, and the shell cement doggone hard-boiled egg. That was all that was left in there. Then you march. Then you do more training in the afternoon. Then you march back. You stand at parade rest outside the dining facility, waiting for your platoon's turn to go in and sit down and eat. When your platoon's called to get in, you got your meal card out. You walk up, you recite off the last 4 of your meal card. Someone has checked that off. You put that back. You get in line. You're at parade rest. You get up. You get your tray. And the whole time outside waiting to get in, you can smell the mashed potatoes. You can smell the fried chicken. You know what I'm talking? If you've ever been by KFC, you know what I'm talking about. You smelling all this, and your stomach's just like, man, gotta get something on top of that hard-boiled egg and that bologna sandwich. You get in, you get your tray, you're like, yeah, this is what I smell. When your mind starts to see it. Sit down, you're eating. Hey, can you pass the salt? Boom! I had 3 drill sergeants on me. Private, if you're talking, you ain't eating. That food don't need no damn salt. Get up. Drill sergeant, get up. You're talking. You're not eating. That moment I went over and had to scrape my plate off. All of it. Go back outside, wait for the soldiers to get done eating. Now the drill sergeants, they got to feed you, right? They got to give you downtime to recover the body, right? So they brought me an MRE, meals ready to eat, and that's what I had for my supper that night. Wasn't no doggone fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy. So at that point there, it's a hand-to-mouth maneuver when you're in a training atmosphere. My wife and daughter to this day said, "Dad, you eat your food too fast." Or how come we can't have a conversation? 35 years ago, somebody said it couldn't. And the second thing, all right, that's one memorable. But the second thing is seeing soldiers that either I trained and they had professional careers, after my presence with them, to run into them and see what they've done, It's a choice on what you want to do. If you want to, the best you can do is help someone else out, and hopefully they take that and they're out there trying to help someone else out as well, and I've had several have done that. Not where they followed my lead, they just took my guidance and matured and honed those leadership skills and the ability to sit there and express that, hey, it's all one team fight, if that makes you sense. And that's the same in life. Then I'd be in the military, but that's the same thing in life. But those are two things. Any other questions, sir?
Yeah, that's what I want to know is, you guys got any questions for the gentleman at this point in time?
I got one. What rank were you when you retired?
Sergeant First Class, E7.
Wow.
Active duty here in Palm Beach County with my base pay, my basic allowance for housing, with the wife and daughter, and my basic allowance for substance, so where they pay you for food. After taxes, I was bringing about 10 grand a month. Home.
Good.
Not a bad gig, but as at 27 years total time in the Army, active.
How much is that a year?
You said what?
10,000 a month, right?
Yep,
It's 100,000.
10 and change, 120,000.
120K a year. That's a retirement rate.
Medical, paid for. Dental, paid for. 30 days paid vacation. 30 days. Pick up and go, just take 30 days off from work. Be gone.
Anything else? We good? Okay. Make you count. I don't blame you either. Hey, how was the food throughout the service? How was it?
I tell you what, it's like a light switch. The mess sergeant can be on or off. But if you had a chance to go as an Army soldier, if you had a chance to go, I had an opportunity to spend some time in Landstuhl. And outside Landstuhl, Germany's Ramstein Air Force Base. And every once in a while, when I go over and do training, I wouldn't eat the mess hall in the Army post. I'd sneak over to Air Force Base because them boys eat good.
Right.
Food was good. That all depends on situation. I mean, if it's raining and they're giving you a hot meal, and you're getting that meal and that rain coming down, what looked like something had some fortitude to it, that's just a plate of soup. Depends how fast you eat.
Okay. Have you? By the way, you enlisted. You weren't
Correct.
drafted, correct?
Yep,
Yeah,
I
right.
enlisted.
Okay. All right. You were never a prisoner of war.
Nope.
Good. Good for you. Good. All right. What? What did you use your GI Bill for?
I used a small part of my GI Bill because I'm a post 9/11 recipient. So what I did, I used three months worth of benefits while I was at a university doing what the current job I'm doing, just take classes, fill in the time. But I transferred 33 months of eligibility to my daughter. So she, with my post 9/11, now she has 33 months of where she can go to a college as long as she academically gets accepted, any college, where they'll pay 100% of her tuition. She'll get approximately around $1,300 a month in housing for dorm or room and board, and she'll get $500 a semester for books. So I passed that. In other words, that's what I would have been able to use to finish my degree.
Nice. Good. Okay, so besides the places you've already mentioned, where else have you traveled, either as a civilian or military on leave or deployment?
Yep, military on leave. I got you know, when you're a good recruiter, you know, you're top of your game within the United States. They sent me on trips to Colorado, where in June, where I was on a mountain ski resort, but there's no snow, but the golf course was very green, so went on a getaway there. They sent my wife and I to the Virgin Islands, where it was a 4-day all-inclusive part of through the morale, welfare, and recreation, where they send you to rest and recuperate.
Nice.
Being stationed in Germany, got to see a lot of the German countryside. Got to see Switzerland and Austria. So there's opportunities for when you're there, but that's about it.
Okay, all right. And so now, what is this job that you're doing after you separated?
So,
Tell us about that, yeah.
yep. So I retired in 2015, and in 2017, I always kept up on my applications, my resume, to make sure I'm trying to get out there and get the jobs that I want to do. And this was one of them. It's called a recruiting operations officer. And I got a phone call one day in August of 2017, said, "Hey, John McCammon, you still want to be a recruiting operations officer?" And I said, "Yes." And I'm thinking, has Mr. Gillart, has he retired at FIU? Nope. I'm thinking UCF or FIT. Nope. And I said, "Where's the job at?" Starkville, Mississippi. I'm like, where in the world is Starkville, Mississippi? And then it's Mississippi State. I said, okay, Dak Prescott came from Mississippi State. Now, when's the start? I needed it by 30 October. So I took the job, went to Mississippi State. It was a temporary job, filling in for the guy who was deployed that owned the job. I spent 1 year there, and a position came open at the University of South Alabama in Mobile, Alabama. And I took that position, and I was there for about 8 months, and then I got a phone call from the guy from FIU saying, "Hey, amigo, I'm getting ready to retire." Meanwhile, my wife and daughter still lived here in Royal Palm Beach, Florida. I had moved them up we were getting ready to move to Mobile, but I got that phone call, and so I transferred back down here in August of 2019. That's where I've been. I take care of the 11 universities: Palm Beach Atlantic, Kaiser West Palm Beach Flagship, Palm Beach State, Florida Atlantic, Broward College, Nova Southeastern, Florida Memorial, Barry University, Miami-Dade, FIU, and the University of Miami. Those are my schools. I take care of enrollments and scholarships. No one gets, they got to come through me. I've never denied anybody opportunity to be a freshman or sophomore in our program, because our leadership elect is offered to everybody on campus. Your only obligation is to in attendance, class, and physical training. So that's what I do today, and that's what I'll do tomorrow. And hopefully maybe 2 or 3 years I'm not doing nothing at all but playing golf.
How did your military experience affect your life?
First off, everybody asks me, what do you think of your military service? So I have zero regrets. How did it affect my life? Definitely brought in a lot of maturity from a young man. Moving forward, taught a lot of leadership skills, the ability to just not influence others, but get others to buy into your own ideas, not beliefs, but ideas. And more importantly, be more appreciative of different cultures, whether it's a language or a foreign country. But then again, that's where I met my wife, and that's like I said, she was in the military as well, stationed same brigade. Our honeymoon was Desert Storm, because she was there. I only saw her twice the whole time during the war, and the whole time she was there, only a mile away, and didn't know it. So sometimes they say small worlds, but zero regrets. Like anything else in life, there's ups and downs. You got to determine just how resilient you want to be as you take those steps up out of that valley. And always remember, there's going to be another valley somewhere along the line or forward of it, and build off those experiences. So those ups and downs are more like just little speed bumps and not actually hills or mountains.
Have you stayed in touch with any of your fellow soldiers after the military?
We did. A lot of us are getting in age, and a lot of us have fallen off. I continuously to monitor the scrolls and the VFW, the Bugle, to see when there's reunions, whatever. There was at one time social media Facebook page, and but I make those attempts. There's a couple out there I stay in touch with, but everyone, just the way it goes. I couldn't even tell you where my football team's at when I played football.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
No. You take an oath when you enlist. You live up and you live up and you own that oath. In the Army, you're taught 7 Army values, and when you become a non-commissioned officer, you're gonna understand the non-commissioned officer's creed. So, through life and the way I apply my business today is I have my NCO creed on one hand and the 7 Army values on the right, and as long as you walk that path between the two, I'm not going to say you can be the greatest thing, but you're definitely within your own moral beliefs on how you're going to do things.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered in the interview?
2 statements.
What?
2 statements.
Okay.
Go Army, beat Navy, and be all you can be.
I want to thank you.
Yep, no
Very
problem, sir.
interesting interview.
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thank you.